And so whenever you're looking at distinguishing two things, there's always a whole range of things that you can choose from to emphasize. And that's always a struggle in a field guide like this. You can't point out everything because it would just be too much. So I end up focusing on the things that where I can say something useful about a bunch of species in a group. So if, say you're looking at an orange, an apple, a plum, a cherry, and a peach all together, you wouldn't point out color because it's not that useful. And shape is not useful, but the fact that all the apple, plum, peach, cherry group all have stems is useful. So I guess that's does that sort of answer your question? It's kind of an example. Yeah, and you see it all the time in where bird identifications are debated, where there's an individual bird that people are arguing about. It's always a case of some people looking at certain characteristics and arguing for one side, and other people looking at other characteristics and arguing for the other side. And that's it's something that you learn with experience, and I've learned as I looked more and more at trees that one of the things you have to learn is what to ignore, what is not important. So, and it really just comes with experience. I think by emphasizing certain things in the field guide, I can sort of point you in the right direction, but you still have to learn that certain things with certain species are just never very helpful.
Your guidebook has 668 species in it. If you were to write a worldwide guide to trees, how many species would there be? And the second question is, are there any young Sibleys that are interested in going in the family business? If there are any young Sibleys that are interested in going in the family business, like father to son here.
I don't know how many species of trees there would be in the world. A lot more than I want to paint. Another interesting thing about trees is that it's not a biological distinction. They're just plants that grow really big. So there are. You'll see in the book a lot of places I'll mention related species that are shrubs or not even shrubs, just small plants, even in the same genus. So doing a guide to trees is sort of like doing a guide to the large birds of North America. So I don't think there's a number for trees around the world, but I know that for plants, there are about 27,000 species of plants native to North America, and about 700 of those are trees. I have two sons, and they're both interested in nature, and they enjoy going birding and fishing and that kind of stuff. But no, neither one of them is really showing an interest in taking over the field guide business. So,
excuse my ignorance, I apologize for it, but in reference to the question about words to use to describe the differences, I'm looking at the chestnut and the beech, which I think are quite different trees from what my understanding of them are, and looking at those leaves, what words do you use to describe why the leaves on the right are beech versus they both look like maybe the teeth are longer? Is
Yeah.
that the only difference, or there's something I'm missing because of my ignorance and untrained eye?
No, they are very similar. So the easiest way to distinguish these species is by the shape of the buds and by the bark. They are very similar. The chestnut tends to have narrower leaves. The proportions of the leaf are different. So that's an example where instead of looking at the teeth along the edge of the leaf, which kind of attract your attention, you have to kind of ignore that and look at the whole leaf, the proportions of the whole leaf, and it tends to be much narrower on a chestnut. Relatively narrower.
One more question.
Okay, one more.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, after all your research, what's your favorite tree and why?
Oh, that's like asking me about a favorite bird. I guess I'll answer that the same way I answer the question about my favorite bird. That I have lots of favorites. I've always liked the structure and the bark of the sycamore. I really got to appreciate. There's one of the firs. All the firs have a really strong structural, rigid sort of structure to them. Noble fir in the West is one of the most sort of a perfect spire shape, just branches, layers of branches, each layer just a little bit shorter than the one below, like an artificial Christmas tree, kind of. What else? Sassafras, the black tupelo that was one of the pictures I showed. But it's just like birds. There's always there's something to appreciate in every species, and there's something to appreciate in every season. It's I'm looking forward now to the fall when the sugar maples change color, and then the very end of the fall when the last few Norway maples and red maples will be losing their leaves. So, lots of favorites.
Thank you so much, David. So he's going to stick around and sign copies of his book. We also have the field guide to North America birds. Books. And please join us for other events. There's a sign-up sheet here, and we have events about 2 to 3 times a week, and it's on strandbooks.com. Thank you all for coming.